Good morning. Today is Monday, August 12th. I'm Corva Coleman from NPR News, and here are today's top stories. Hamas has implied that it won't be sending any representatives to new ceasefire talks for Gaza this week. Hamas says this comes after an Israeli airstrike this weekend that killed more than 90 people. A report from the Israeli military says several dozen detainees from Gaza have died while in military custody since the war with Hamas began more than 10 months ago. As NPR's Daniel Estrin reports, other Palestinians who were detained allege they were abused by Israeli forces.
An Israeli military report delivered to the Israeli group Physicians for Human Rights and reviewed by NPR says at least 44 Palestinians from Gaza have died in military detention since the war began. The Israeli military said some died from previous illnesses or injuries endured in the, quote, ongoing hostilities, and that it investigates each death. Separately, a doctor from Physicians for Human Rights in Israel observed the autopsy of a prisoner from the West Bank and said he died after being denied treatment for a disease. The military's detention practices are under scrutiny. A group of soldiers is being questioned on suspicion of sexually assaulting a Gaza detainee. A medical official told NPR the detainee faced life-threatening injuries. Daniel Estrin, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
Vice President Harris and her running mate Tim Walz have concluded a multi-state campaign trip over the past week. They finished with a donor event last night in San Francisco, where Harris was once a prosecutor. Harris and former President Donald Trump don't have many policy points in common, especially on economics. But over the weekend in Nevada, Harris joined Trump in supporting tax-free tips. NPR's Luke Garrett explains.
Both the Republican and Democratic presidential nominees support no taxes on tips. And in Congress, two bills are making their way through Capitol Hill to make the idea law. But senior fellow at the Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center, Steve Rosenthal, isn't buying it.
Not so much a united front, but a race to the bottom would be a better way to describe tax policy here.
Rosenthal says the no tax on tips policy, while politically attractive, creates more problems than solutions.
How are we going to tell who is receiving a tip and when that tip crosses a line into wages? How will we prevent investment bankers, say, from getting tips?
But the nail in the coffin for this tax-free tips idea is revenue. Rosenthal estimates Congress would lose around $100 billion in 10 years. Luke Garrett, NPR News, Washington.
Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance gave several interviews yesterday to major networks. He blasted Vice President Harris's campaign for criticizing him on his policy positions for families.
The Harris campaign has frankly lied about what I actually said. I'm pro-family. I want us to have more families, and obviously sometimes it doesn't work out, sometimes for medical reasons, sometimes because you don't meet the right person. But the point is that our country has become anti-family in its public policy.
He spoke to ABC's This Week. This is NPR.